For my project, I decided to pick Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise has been a very visible movie star for about 4 decades now. But what stands out to me is the fact that he's able to carry himself with a mix of charisma, versatility, and wide appeal in every role that he's played. He can be the face of a big budget action film, and in the next movie, he can switch gears and delivers a focused, detailed performance in a drama. So, my take isn't one of a Tom Cruise superfan. Me personally, I don't watch a lot of films, at least right now, just because I don't have a ton of extra time in my life to take to watch a 2 to 3 hour movie. But I'm able to really respect his ability to stay at the top of his game for about 45 years now, and he's put out many critically acclaimed performances, and he's able to sell tickets as well. So, across roughly 47 film roles, Cruise has built a resume of films that covers comedy, drama, sci fi, and action. Even though I haven't seen most of his films, it's clear he's picked projects that would play to a large crowd appeal with his physicality, action, and intensity, but he also covers a very broad number of genres and succeeds in each type. He hasn't limited his appeal by limiting his projects, and about over 45 years on screen, Cruise has stayed active and visible into his 60s. To me, that longevity can't just be a factor of pure luck. He's earned a reputation for delivering an acting performance that makes people buy into how he represents himself as a character, and I'm going to highlight a few of his best performances. So, his first appearances were small, such as in Endless Love and Taps, and then a launch pad he got was with the Outsiders movie that he starred in. And the breakout movie that he had was Risky Business, where the character starts awkward and ends with swagger. He plays an earnest North Shore kid trying to get into an Ivy League college, and he used his looks, or he's used to getting away with everything that he pulled, and you can't help but hope that he gets out of any trouble he causes, and actually you end up kind of cheering for him as well. And then you also see how controlled he is. Early on, his shoulders are tight and his voice wobbles, but by the end of it, his posture is steady and his eye contact is direct. He's also funny without being direct, letting pauses and reaction shots communicate the humor. And Top Gun is the movie that kind of made him a global name. And what I noticed is the balance between swagger and emotion that he has. He plays the action, but also the doubts, the pressure, and the loss when Goose dies. It's not stuffy or formal acting, it's believable because Cruise's character of Maverick seems like a guy who could be in your community. As a person gets older, and if they attended a big high school or college, you meet a lot of people. Maverick seems like a guy that you know in your life. He's just a very relatable character, and you kind of want the best for him. He's like your ambitious friend who sometimes loses sight of how his behavior or approach is part of his problem. He's flawed, but he's trying, and that combination is part of why the character has ended up lasting for decades now. And in 1989, he kind of takes on a heavier role with Born on the 4th of July, and he's told a jarring story about the effects of the Vietnam War and put a familiar face to it. He was well known to the public when this movie came out, and it's a hard film to watch, whether or not you love the film. And it's a statement that he has the ability to handle a controversial, politically charged film as the lead with a really devastating story. He sold anger, grief, and the story of a generation of young people who got caught up in a story and lived completely different realities. It seemed like it would have been easy for Cruise to stick with the comedies or action films. He's made a ton of money off of them, and it would have just been easy for him to keep doing that and stay famous. But he chose to take on a political role with a tough message about war and the effects that showed that he was an actor with talent and not just a famous actor with wide appeal for the more lighter roles that he had done in the past. And A Few Good Men showed him being a motivated young lawyer serving the military. He's defended two Marines accused of killing another Marine at Guantanamo Bay. In the film, Cruise's character gets a colonel to admit he ordered an illegal code red hazing that led to the Marine's death, and then the colonel is arrested. The courtroom scenes are intense, and Cruise holds his ground as an actor in a scene with Jack Nicholson, a famous actor who's about 25 years older than Cruise. Cruise is completely believable as an eager lawyer trying to help two vulnerable Marines from taking the fall for following an order. And he carries himself in these intense scenes that are very verbal. It's not an action scene or a light drama. He went up against a much more seasoned actor in their big scenes, and it felt like Cruise was more of the moral winner. And in 1996, Cruise starred as Jerry Maguire. And then in Maguire, Cruise plays a successful sports agent who develops a conscience. It shows Cruise becomes less of a corporate animal and more aware of the need to be decent. It's also a love story and includes scenes with a likable child. He plays a successful agent, but he also seems like he could be someone that's in your world. He starts his own business and starts dating a typical woman with a child. His client tries to teach him lessons about family and relationship. It's a happy ending film that is pretty easy to watch, but it's kind of surprising that he seemed like such a good fit for a film based on the two films prior to this. With this one, it shows a relatable side that he also shows in films like Risky Business, but now with more real-world themes that people are able to connect to. And then Collateral flips his image because he plays a quiet, controlled villain. He plays a cold, professional killer with gray hair and really quiet and controlled mannerisms. He shows minimal movement, clipped speech, and a steady eye contact to create the threatening energy without loudness or using physical force. And this role was a big departure for Cruise just because he's usually the charming hero or action good guy, but in this role he played the villain. And then instead of saving people now, he's the threat to people. And that showed a switch to a much darker, more serious side of his acting, and I think it surprised a lot of viewers. And supposedly, Cruise trained with real firearms experts and practiced moving like a professional assassin. He even disguised himself as a FedEx driver in public to see if he could stay unnoticed, to understand his character's ability to blend in. And then another movie was Edge of Tomorrow, which is a science fiction action movie set in the future when Earth is under attack by alien creatures. And then Tom Cruise plays a military public affairs officer, and he has no combat experience, who is forced to fight on the front lines. And then during the battle, he's killed, but instead of dying, he wakes up and finds that he's stuck in a time loop and that he just keeps reliving the same day over and over again. But each time he's able to get smarter and is able to learn more about his situation. And this role that Cruise had shows his kind of transformation with going from a clueless officer to a brave and strategic hero. Watching him struggle, fail, and slowly master each day made his performance feel human and believable. He added humor and self-awareness to the repetitive die and restart scenes. His expressions and timing made the movie funny. He also did a lot of his own stunt work himself, and it made the movie feel realistic. And his Mission Impossible series, it might be one of his best known. And then across the 8 Mission Impossible films, he played as Ethan Hunt, who was a fearless but moral secret agent who risks everything to save others and who often defies orders and pushes himself beyond human limits to complete impossible missions. And then he's not just the star, but he's the producer or the co-producer who insists on practical stunts and a lot of his action. And then Cruise does all this dangerous work himself, so the camera can stay on his face, making everything feel real. He also plays Ethan as a loyal teammate with a strong moral line, and he's not like a cartoon superhero. His timing, intensity, and chemistry with his co-stars keep the team dynamic fun. And then And Cruise's reach is partially due to film's choices and reputations. He's talented, he trains hard, and he partners with very strong directors. Even if you haven't watched everything, it's hard not to be genuinely impressed by both his talents and his longevity. And my opinion is that he's a disciplined, audience focused actor who blends his star power with the ability to act in every genre he's attempted. And not every film is going to be perfect, but the overall standard is very high. And that's why he's able to keep drawing respect and attention from fans. So I thank you guys for listening.